sewing friends, welcome to the Let's Go Sew with Joanne Banco live show. And if you're here tonight and you are curious about someone else that you might know or you might not know, and curious to find out what makes their creativity tick, then stay tuned because I have a fabulous guest for you, none other than Ashley Jones, who is the lead educator from Designs in Machine Embroidery. So let me know in the chat if you are already a friend of Ashley. She is well known online and is certainly someone that I count as a very, very special person. We're going to dig in a little bit tonight and find out a little bit more about how in the world she got into this whole world of software and embroidery. And like I said, find out what makes her creative mind tick. So let me say hi to just a few people before I bring her on. Hey, Clovis, good to have you here. Hey, Mary, Star Raymond is here. Deborah's here. Sandra's here from Wyoming tonight. That is pretty cool. And Cindy King, always good to have you. Delia from South Central Kansas. So glad you're here tonight. Oh, let's see. We've got Margaret. We've got Christy. We've got, this one's tough. Pudiji from Tucson. You might have to give me a better phonetic reading of that one. Rebecca's here from Idaho. Let's see. Anne's here. Brenda, Marie, Darlene. Crafting with Marilyn, you are a regular for sure. And our mutual friend, Reen Wilcoxon, is here. So all kinds of great friends. We've got Caroline, Shirley, Lisa, Betsy, Ruth is here. Oh, Ruth from Akron. So you're not too far from me. Carolyn's all the way here from South Dakota. And Linda, you win the prize from Katandra West, Australia. Wow. It is, I have no idea. I'd have to get my world clock going to see what time it is there, but I sure do appreciate having you here tonight. Marcia's here. Susan's here. The whole gang is here, right? So we're here to have a good time, talk about sewing, and like I said, dig in a little bit and find out a little bit more about our friend Ashley Jones. Ashley, let me tell you a little bit more about Ashley. She is, like I said, the lead educator for Dime and well known, like I said, amongst many of you. She does so many live shows. We'll be talking a little bit more specific about her live shows, but she is, like I said, the events and education director for Dime. She's trained thousands of embroiderers to help improve their skills in software and embroidery application. I didn't know this, but she actually had a career in IT. Now, why am I not surprised at her technical and computer background there? But she's now using that technical knowledge to educate machine embroiderers, and I bet it's a whole lot more fun for her than it was in her other realm. She really truly is an expert in all types of embroidery software and a very definite specialist in the Dime embroidery software, which we lovingly call Dime. It's the same as Designs in Machine Embroidery. And she's a contributor on Dime's software development team as well, which is really important because when you're on a team like that, coming from a person that really enjoys embroidery like you and I do, that means a lot in the development end. She is also a creator of many home embroidery projects and designs, enjoys combining the use of die cutters and electronic cutters, which I know you're going to see some of that tonight, to aid in creating her embroidery projects. And her passion is sharing knowledge with embroiderers to help them be successful. So please welcome my dear friend, Ashley Jones. Yay, Ashley!
Thank you for the kind words. It's so good to be here, and I'm excited to go through all your questions because, like you said, these are things that we don't get to talk about whenever we're generally on screen. You know how it is.
Yep. And I'm telling you, we got so many friends here. We've got Linda here. She says it's 9 a.m. Tuesday morning. And then April is also here from Australia. She is sneaking in a break while at work. So that is really pretty amazing, isn't it?
Absolutely. I love this virtual Joanne because, as you said, I'm a technical person, but I love that this technology can let us really broadcast anywhere in the world and get to share our passion with people all over.
It is so amazing. We've got
Yeah.
Arlette is here from Canada.
Nice.
Sandy's here from Phoenix. Everybody's saying hi. Susan's here from Orange County. And I know you've got lots and lots and lots of good friends here. And uh, Pugy, that's still a little tough to say. Hate to hate to mess that one up, but we're glad to have you here too. Terry Moffat, our friend Terry, is here, and
Yeah.
she's in Northwest Mississippi. So we just got a little bit of everybody from everywhere tonight, and I know they are all as curious as I am to find out more about your background, because even though you and I have known each other for a while,
Yeah.
certainly met through Dime, and have
Yeah.
had the opportunity to be online together for some different things. But as far as like, there were a lot of things I didn't know until I arranged this show. I had, again, why am I not surprised that you had a background in IT? I just thought you fell in love with software head over heels, and loved using it in your whole embroidery world, and that got you going on that. I would have never known that it was
But that is
really.
kind of the background as well. But yeah, the computer degree, just technology in general. I love all things technology. I think that it really it keeps our mind sharp, Joanne. It makes us better at some of the things, more efficient at some things, and so just all around. But it definitely, the love for that was there prior to embroidery. But what better way to marry, your professional and your, hobby parts of your life to make like just the perfect world.
Oh, the other thing is, it's a real gift for you to be able to share that with other
Yeah.
people who don't have that background and don't have that type of knowledge. And I think one of the things that makes you so special, I got to say this, is that you keep it really real. And when you teach, I know everybody can understand what you're saying, because I've been in software classes. I don't know what a software teacher experiences, but I know on my end, I've been in software classes where the teacher talked so far out of my head. I one time I left a class actually in tears.
Oh
And I and
no.
I it was when software was new and we were just getting our feet wet, with combining embroidery with software.
Yeah.
And this teacher was just, he was a brilliant man, but he talked so far over that I thought, when I left there that day, not only did I not get it, I would never get it.
Yeah.
And I wonder if any of our friends have ever felt that way, where you're in a class or you're trying to learn something, and if you just, if you feel defeated at the very beginning, you tend not to want to go back
Right.
for more. So I
Right.
love your teaching style.
Thank you.
It's like I said, it's a real gift to the world, because I like to say that, software expands our embroidery universe.
It does.
And if
Absolutely.
you're not using software of any kind yet, I understand that, because most of us have been there at some point in time. But in this day and age, you will just benefit yourself so greatly by starting to explore software. So we'll talk a little bit later tonight about what some of your recommendations are for helping
Sure.
people to do
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
like I said, it's really great to have everybody here. Marie says she watches you a lot. And
Oh, thank you, Marie.
and so do I, Marie. I try to never, ever, ever miss. Lori
Thank
says
you.
hi. Deborah
Yes.
says
Hey,
hi.
Lori.
Anne Philback, she's a
Yes.
regular, frequent
She
flyer,
is.
as you like to say.
Yes, yes, she sure is. So she's over on our lives and our Facebook group, and I love seeing everyone, that's familiar. But even if it's, not a familiar name, but the ones that are familiar, I think that, I I really appreciate them because I know they're working hard. I don't think that, what we do, Joanne, like I know that it seems easy, but I still learn and there are things that are challenging for me. And when I see somebody repetitively working at it, oh my gosh, it just makes my heart melt because I just think about how challenging it might be for someone and they're still working at it and they're trying to get better and make it easier so that they can enjoy, their software as well. So,
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. And like I said, just having, somebody there that is kind of, to hold your hand
Yeah,
virtually or, guide you
absolutely.
through, it's going to cause you to go further. We
Yeah.
got some great comments here already. Anne says, neither one of us have made her cry. Yeah, I hope that's always the case. Carolyn
Good.
says she has a dream machine, but has
Machine.
not even
Yeah.
tempted. Oh, Carolyn, we got to get you
Wow.
going here, girl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And Terry's got a good point here. She says embroidery software can be like the best novel left on the shelf because people don't know where to start.
Oh my
Yep.
gosh, Terry, I need to embroider that on something. That is so true. I love that.
You could make a pretty cool design out of that. Susan says hi from North Carolina. Let's see. Jane says she loves all of your classes and
Thank
always
you.
understands the
Thank you,
lessons.
thank
See,
you.
it's, I know you teach a lot. I teach a lot. We don't necessarily
Yeah.
teach the same things, but having that kind of feedback is so important because when we turn off our computers at the end of the day or the end of a session like this and all goes quiet,
Right.
all goes blank. I don't know. You tell me, do you sometimes think, well, I wonder if they understood this, or I wonder if I should have
Yeah.
said that, or I wonder if I said this, that, or I wonder if I should have added that. And
I
that,
I definitely do, Joanne, and those of you that have seen me answer any questions on our Facebook groups or Facebook in general, or even on our YouTube channel, I am big about pictures and videos, screenshots. I do think that, it's much easier to see what you're referring to when you can see it as an image. I don't always have that luxury because a lot of times I'll answer questions from my phone when I'm out. I don't know about you, Joanne, but being in this industry for work, I think about it and I do it 24/7 almost. I mean,
it's
when I'm
so true.
sleeping, Joanne, I'm dreaming about it. And when I wake up, sometimes I'm answering questions late at night and in the morning, but it doesn't seem at all like, it doesn't seem like work because it's so fun. And I really love the connection, that I've formed with people. And believe it or not, talking about the teaching, all of my life, I have always said that I would be a horrible teacher. I
Oh
never thought
my.
of myself as a person that could explain things really well. And so once I started doing this, I worked in a local store, started teaching, and I found out that I just loved it. And I think that that made a lot of difference too, is really enjoying teaching.
And
So,
what it really is sharing. It's
right.
sharing the love
It
of sewing and
is.
embroidery and creating. So,
Yeah.
we have another mutual friend here from Quilts and
Yes.
Lace.
It's Beth,
Beth,
Beth, or
hey,
maybe
Beth.
Anne, or yeah.
I'm so glad you could make it. My friend
Yeah.
Kim is here. Hey, Kim. Let's see, Lori, what has Lori got to say? Great commentary. She remembers when software was new being so overwhelmed. Okay, so I'm not the only one that was, totally overwhelmed. I mean, just working with a computer was new at that time. So, thinking about, wrapping all this software together, but she
Yeah.
wasn't sure how to get started. And Ashley, you have been a great inspiration. So
Thank you, Lori. I met Lori a long time ago. I did an event at a store that she was working in, and right away I felt like that she was already extremely into and knowledgeable about software. So she and I connected almost immediately. And then when we were looking for teachers at Dime, I thought of her and reached out to her. And so you never know, Joanne, who you're going to meet and where
absolutely.
that's going to lead you, because that's kind of what led me here. I'll get into that when we get to
Yeah,
that
we're
part
gonna
of the
we're gonna
story.
get all into that. And
Right.
Linda's a frequent flyer too, so I can't neglect to say
Yes.
say hi to her. Now, Valerie, I'm gonna
Yeah.
say it like Valerie, only with a D, and you tell me if it's
Yeah.
wrong. Valerie wants to know which software you teach. So Do you want to save that for later, or do you want to give us the rundown on that now?
So I can talk about it now while it's still fresh.
Sure.
And so we don't forget to answer maybe later, because I do sometimes feel like I get kind of sidetracked. But I teach Dime embroidery software. Dime, as Joanne said, I love that you said we lovingly refer to it as Dime, short for Designs and Machine
Yeah.
Embroidery. But Designs and Machine Embroidery, Dime, has a full line of embroidery software from digitizing to quilting with your embroidery machine to help you with your patches or freestanding lace. And so we teach all of those different pieces. And Dime, I counted the other day, Joanne, we have 17 different pieces of software at Dime. So there's lots to choose from, and that's actually part of the education, is sharing with everyone what each piece is actually used for too.
Yeah, and there is quite a bit there for sure. Um, I'm still trying to wrap my head around which one I should try to master first. Maybe actually that might be a good
Yeah.
question to hit on now. What do you recommend people start with? I know
Yeah.
obviously the kind of the obvious answer is embroidery tool shed,
Right.
but
Yeah.
why don't you tell a little bit about what embroidery tool shed is, and then maybe
Yeah.
tell us what you think would be a next step up software.
Okay. So Embroidery Toolshed is a free embroidery software that you can download. It's on our site, and you download it and install it on your computer, and you can play around. Just the free version really does quite a bit. It will allow you to open any format of embroidery design, and you can resize it, and it recalculates the stitches. It'll let you change the colors. It'll let you rotate a design. It'll let you put two designs together on the same workspace. It has our stitch simulator, which we call slow redraw, which Joanne, believe it or not, is one of my most used features, and one that I recommend if you have never used software. Open every single design in our free embroidery tool shed, or one that you have, and watch your design stitch out on screen. That can tell you a lot about your design before you ever even get to your embroidery machine. So you can do that all with the free program. And really, those are the things I think we do the most. We open, we look at it, we review it. We sometimes add two designs together, change some colors. But then if you want to take it to the next level, I would say the most basic way to do so, and so that you're learning kind of incrementally, we sell font packs, and those you can add to the software individually. And so if you purchase a font pack, some as low as $100, it will add to your free software, it will add the font capability and text capability to our program. So that would allow you to add sayings, words to your design, and you can manipulate that text in so many different ways. Make it shaped differently, put it on a circle around your design. And I think, to me, that's the second thing I think that I do the most. Is I open a design, I watch it slow redraw, the stitch simulator, but then I'm generally adding some sort of text or saying, aside from resizing it and positioning it. But adding text, I think, is a really big thing. And I know we have lots of text on our embroidery machines, but it's so much easier to just type it out on the keyboard, to me. Plus, generally any embroidery software is going to have more font options than built into any embroidery machine. And I don't think that, your software replaces anything on your machine. They really work together as a team, because the software can do things that the machine can't, and the software that's built into your machine can't. But then also, of course, the machine can do things the software can't, because,
Yeah,
the software
that's why I
doesn't
say
stitch.
it
Yeah,
all
it's like that.
intertwines. But
Right, for
to
sure.
your point about lettering, I'd love to hear in the chat how many of you bought an embroidery machine with the thought in mind that you wanted to embroider words of some
Yes.
sort on something, because I think for a lot of people that is definitely one of their big
Yeah.
picks. But the
Yep.
other thing that I think a lot of people don't realize, and actually I didn't know this for the first few years that I was embroidering, is that in most cases, and there may be exceptions to this that I'm not aware of on other brands. I'm a Brother brand ambassador, so I
Yeah.
only work with Brother machines, but on the built-in fonts on the machine, as beautiful as they don't have underlay on them. So
Wow.
we get good quality if we stabilize properly and everything works all right and we use the right size and the right
Yeah.
fabric. And but that's where I think software too really expands your repertoire by giving you not only many different types of fonts, but fonts that are a little bit more fine tuned because
Mhm.
they have that underlay. And underlay, most of us understand, is those base stitches that go down before the actual pretty stitches
Yeah.
cover it up and really form the pattern or the design. So
Absolutely. I did not know that, Joanne. That is very interesting. And I have a Brother machine, and I had no idea that it did not have underlay. But then again, I have to admit, I don't really use those texts
I'm
because I
sure.
do have so many on my software. But I
Yeah.
I couldn't live without my machine. So, like I said, they go hand in hand.
Connie says she needs to look into getting more fonts. And Reen, our mutual friend Reen, bought her
Yes,
first embroidery machine with visions of monogramming things for people.
letters. Yep,
And then
letters.
she
That's a
realized
text.
how hard
Yep.
and nerve-wracking it is. Reen, I'd love to hear a little bit more of that story.
Yep, I love, and that's kind of how I got started too. I wanted to monogram. So yeah, I'm from the South, Joanne, and we like
Yeah.
to put giant monograms on everything
I'm
that's
not
not
even
nailed
from the
down.
South, and I love monograms. I just think they're so classy and so
Right.
beautiful. And even the fun styles, they work for everybody. I mean, who doesn't like
Absolutely.
seeing their name or their initials, in beautiful thread?
It's
Um,
the ultimate, yeah, ultimate in personalization to have your initials or your name.
Marilyn says her first embroidery machine, she couldn't wait to monogram towels. Yeah, how many of us have made towels as gifts, you know?
Yeah. Oh,
Okay, we
so
got a
many.
good question here from Pugie. She has a new computer and she wants to know, how does she get Dime software on her new computer?
So, if you already have purchased Dime software and you have it installed on your old computer, PUG, you can unregister it and then put it to the new one. If you want to keep it on both computers, then contact technical support. Let them know that you need a second registration because you can use your serial number on two computers. So you can install our free software on as many computers as you like, but then to register the ones that you've paid for, you can do that on any two computers. So the easiest would be to unregister, and that is under your help menu. And so, help and activation, choose the unregister option, and it will unregister everything. That frees up your serial number. And then you can go over and just install and activate on your new computer.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anne says we always need more fonts. My
Yes.
friend Jamie's here tonight. Jamie, so glad to have you on here live as well. I know you don't get to catch very many of the live shows, so I'm thrilled to have you here. We got to connect one of these days soon. It's been too long since we've talked. But monogramming towels was her first project ever. And always a great wedding gift. Yeah,
Yes, it
absolutely. I
is.
mean, you could justify buying an embroidery machine. Now, obviously, there's different levels, but you really could, at a certain price point,
Yep.
justify buying an embroidery machine just to do wedding and shower gifts for the rest
Yeah.
of your life. I mean, it would work. Kelly wants to know, does the software work on a Mac? And we've got a 3-letter
Yeah.
answer for that,
Yes, it does work on Mac.
which is really thrilling. And I will testify to the fact that I do work on a Mac. I switched over to a Mac about, maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago. And I'll tell you why. It has nothing to do with branding.
Mhm.
The brand, I'm not a designer brand type person. I'm just not. But as I was teaching embroidery, a lot of people were starting to buy Mac laptops in particular. They were using them for their photos and things like that. And then they wanted to start using it with their, in combination with their embroidery machine. And people would come and they would ask me, how do I do this or how do they do that on the Mac? And it was like a foreign language to me. None of the icons, I didn't understand any of them. None of them made any sense. And then I needed a new computer and I wanted an all-in-one, meaning I didn't want to have the tower separate and the monitor separate and all that. And at that time, Mac was the only one that was really making very many of those. So I thought, okay, that'll give me a chance to learn that. Well, I'll tell you what, I almost drove myself insane in the first couple months because everything was different. And it turned out to be a lot easier once I understood everything, but nothing was in the same place that I was used to. And I really did kind of go crazy. Now, I do have to still use Windows because my brother programs only run on Windows.
Right.
So I have to be able to do that as well. So I had to load Windows on my Mac and do like a split type of version. But it is so, I love using my Dime software on my Mac because I can stay on the same screen and just hop around. Let's see. Terry asked, is it better to make my tool shed the default or PEP? And why don't you explain what it actually means to make it the default?
Okay, so this actually will piggyback on what Toolshed is. So not only is Embroidery Toolshed a free program, but it is the program that houses every Dime program that you maybe will purchase. And it installs, it holds all the features. So think of it like, your tool shed. So if you think of your tool shed, your gardening shed, all of your tools are in there. So you can have Embroidery Tool Shed and several other Dime software, but it merges all the features so that you don't have to flip between programs. So what Terry's asking is which one should she make default? Because when you make different programs the different a default, then the icons at the top of the screen are the icons for the program that you have default. So what I always say is to make either Embroidery Tool Shed or PEP if you own PEP. If you own those, the PEP software, I would make PEP or Embroidery Tool Shed the default because it gives you the most icons. PEP is our most powerful software. We call that short for Perfect Embroidery Pro. And it will have the most icons there. Now, because I know that Terry owns Perfect Embroidery Pro and she's asking if Embroidery Tool Shed should be the default, then Terry, I would say yes, make Embroidery Tool Shed the default. And the reason is because it actually adds a couple of other icons onto your toolbar. Now, this is a personal preference from me. I like to have the icons visible so I don't have to look under a right click menu or buried like in my properties or something. But if you feel like you want fewer icons on the screen, then your other features might be under your right click menu or over in your properties as well. But Embroidery Tool Shed is the default, is going to give you the most icons on your toolbar. And then PEP will give you the second most. So there's just a couple of difference there. So
Very
yeah, hopefully that
good.
answers.
And Jamie's happy. She says she's gonna check it out afterwards. And somebody said here, once you have a Mac, you'll never go back. And I know that the salesman told me that when I bought mine, and I thought it was pretty funny, but I thought he was really right after a little
Yeah,
while.
for sure. And so the other thing too I want to say about installing on a Mac, with our software, because it does run on your Mac OS, you do have to download and install what we call our Dime translator. So you download and it prepares your Mac to receive our program. It puts a directory system, and that's how we work on both Windows and Mac with the same program. So the nice thing about that is that if you own one PC and one Mac, then you can actually install your copy. You get two installations for one serial number. You can put one on each. So that's kind of how we make that happen. But I also wanted to let everybody know too, Joanne, that if they download and install that free Embroidery Tool Shed, they can try any of Dime's programs from the little shopping cart in the bottom right. And if I go into my software, I can show them that. But it lists all of our Dime software, and there's a little ... like a little ellipsis. And if you click on that for more more options, it'll say try. So you can actually play with a fully functional version of any of our 17 pieces of software. The only feature that's disabled is the save feature, so that, of course,
Got it.
you won't be able to save things. But you can play with every feature of every program that Dime has by just trying it for free inside of the free embroidery tool shed, which is really powerful.
That is so amazing. And like
Try
Stephanie
before you
says,
buy.
Dime software really is
Yes.
so user friendly. Our good friend Stephanie does. Stephanie
Yeah.
does a lot of beautiful things with Dime too. I think we're gonna see a little bit of that
Yep.
tonight. But I I had we've got some different questions. I'm gonna bring them up. But Marie wants to know: is there a tutorial or lessons for learning embroidery tool shed? So
Yeah.
that's a great question, Marie.
Yes, absolutely. So there are tons of free education for learning. I just want to clarify, when we refer to embroidery tool shed, that has a dual meaning. That's also the free version that has those features that we talked about earlier. But embroidery tool shed also is a term that is encompassing all of your Dime programs. So for learning the features that come with the free embroidery tool shed, inside of the software, you can hover over any of the icons and press the F2 on your keyboard, or you may have to press your function key to get to F2. But
Okay.
it'll play a short little video for those features. So that's one way. Also, on the toolbar, there's a little icon that's an eye for like information or help.
Hmm.
If you click there, it'll take you to a set of tutorials on our YouTube channel that each one is about 1 to 2 minutes long. And that steps you through nearly every feature of the free one. The resizing, the changing your colors, bringing two designs on the screen, rotating, all kinds of things. So that's another way. And then also built into Embroidery Tool Shed is the user manual. If you go to the help menu and the user manual under that menu, the user manual is there that you can look at, and it'll also tell you all those features. And I also hold a software success live presentation on the first and the third Tuesday of every month on the Dime YouTube channel and the Dime Facebook channel. And the very first one that I did back in February was all about, I did 2 episodes all about the free program. I mean, I spent 2 hours of what you could do just in the free version. And then each time I hold one of those software success sessions, I go over a different piece of Dime software. So it's a really great way to learn, even if you're just wondering what a piece does and what features it has. So it's a good way to learn. I can't hear you. Can you still hear me? Oh,
I had to unmute. My cat
okay.
was crying.
Oh.
Would we need to look for designs in machine embroidery, or would we just look for Dime?
Yeah, so if you search on YouTube designs and machine embroidery, then it will come up. So if you search the full name, and then the same thing, our YouTube channel is spelled out designs and machine embroidery. So either of those you can locate, and then sign up for, like do the subscribe and the follow, and you'll get notified when we go live. So I do the first and the third Tuesday solely on software, as you know, Joanne. But on Thursday, every Thursday, Eileen has a live also, and she does a little mini snippet of software, because generally most everything that she is teaching on there, it starts with software. So she also shows a little snippet, but it's not the full episode.
And Anne wants to borrow your brain.
You don't want to be in here, Anne. It's scary.
And April says she's learned a
Thanks.
lot. So
Thank you.
let's just roll back just a few
Sure.
minutes. So we know that you have an IT background, so that
Yep.
gives us a little clue into you know what you're doing today. But how did you actually make the transition? From
Ooh.
and actually, what was your first embroidery project or your first sewing
Yeah.
project? Give us a little bit more of that
Okay.
background.
Okay, so my husband was military for 20 years. And during that time, of course, every 3 or so years, we would move to a new location. So that meant me starting a new job. And so I was working in an office doing IT work when we lived in Washington State. And he was actually retiring, and we were about to make our move. And it got held up, some technical things with the job he was accepting. And I had already given my notice at my job. So I decided to put in an application for the holiday season at my local store that I was a customer of. So I went, I put in, they hired me for that season, for the holiday season, which you guys know is super busy. And immediately I started teaching their basic sewing classes, some of their embroidery classes were the usage classes on the embroidery machines. And boy, it was a crash course because the store that I worked at carried every brand of embroidery machines. So it wasn't just learning your one machine that you own, it was learning all those different brands, which was a quick education all in itself. So I was working there. We were about ready to do our actual move, but I was also teaching some of the hands-on or working for the store at the hands-on presentation. So big name companies would come in and hold hands-on events. You guys know them, you've been to them. And I met an educator for one of those companies, and she said some changes were about to happen. She kept my number. We finally moved. And then once I moved and hadn't found a job yet, she actually called and said, "Hey, would you be interested in being a traveling educator?" And I resisted. I can't lie, because I didn't think that I would enjoy the travel and being gone. But it was amazing. It was so fun to be every day of your job, be in front of and with people that had your same passion. And it just sparked something in me that I don't think I could ever put out. But you're with that common group, the people that love the same things you do. You're able to share your ideas, your creations. I learned from them. I felt like they learned from me. So that was how I kind of fell into this job accidentally. So even though I could have left and went back to the IT, I never wanted to. It was so fun. And I had always thought it would be fun to work for a software company that created embroidery software. So just so happened that Dime does have a software that they create. And so I got kind of lucky. And since being a traveling educator, my role has changed, and I do work on the development of new programs with our development team. You guys met Roy. He heads up our development of the software in our office there in Dallas. So I'm very fortunate to work with him, but also to have input and to be able to give my ideas for what I think would be great in software. But then, being able to see it and test it, that speaks to my technical side. So
Well, between you and
just a
Eileen,
little
because
accident.
Eileen, again, is another one who is
Yes,
really doing it every day.
absolutely.
And I admire Roy so much. He
I
is just
know.
amazing, absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And
And
he's
if
done
you
so
and
much.
her
His background,
Yeah. Oh my gosh, and her
incredible.
story is even more amazing, how she got to this point, and to be able to learn from her, Joanne, and work with her, and, it's really, I couldn't even put a price on it. It
Yeah,
truly is priceless.
yeah.
So that's kinda how I fell into it, and I've never looked back. But as far as embroidery goes, Joanne, my husband and I were living in upstate New York, and I had a friend that she and I were thick as thieves. We both had dogs, no kids, and we, loved our dogs like our babies. And so
Uh-huh.
she used to make dog collars for her dogs. She used to sew, curtains and throw pillows and tote bags. And her mom was a home ec teacher. And so she really is the one that inspired me to want to learn to sew. So I went to their local store. I asked and I researched, and everybody that I talked to said, there are certain brands that are great, but really it's about having a local person there to be able to help you to support your machine. So I went into the local store to purchase my first sewing machine, and I walk in the door. The gentleman that was the salesperson turned around and just pushed a button on the sewing machine, and then he went back to working on the computer. Well, what he did was he had a design ready and he started the embroidery on that
Wow.
machine. And Joanne, he knew what he was doing,
You were
right?
mesmerized. You
Oh
were
my
like,
gosh.
yeah.
Immediately. It was like a fish, like aquarium in a fish, like I'm over there just staring at it, like not even believing that it's doing, all of the work. And of course it was doing a monogram. And as I said, I'm originally from the South. We love giant monograms on everything. And so of course, I mean, right then, I don't even recall talking to him about a sewing only machine. But you know what he did for me, Joanne, that I really think was the best thing of my embroidery life is that he never let me believe that my embroidery machine would do everything that I wanted to without the help of software. So when I
Wow.
left that store and I was planning to spend a couple of $100s on a sewing machine, thousands later, I had an embroidery machine. Now it only did a 4x4, but hey, it was still an embroidery machine. And the software was more expensive than the machine itself, but that software carried me for years, and it allowed me to do things on that 4x4 hoop
Yeah.
that you would have never thought. I could split a design and I could stitch a 5x7 or an 8x8 design because it would do all the work for me to split the designs and allow me to do the rehooping and help me line it up. My first machine didn't have, these big screens that we have. So being able to see the design stitch out on the screen, I think that's why I do that still today, is because my original machine basically just said, change to color number 2, but you didn't really know what color number 2 was supposed to be. I
Yeah.
mean, without the software, I think that I would not have been as pleased with the embroidery, but the software really is what hooked me, and it also made me successful with the machine. The first project I ever did was also a towel, but you guys are going to think I'm crazy. It was the whole reason that I bought the software is because he showed in his demonstration how to bring in an image and turn it into embroidery. And
Oh,
I had
wow.
wanted to make a gift for a very close friend of mine who was a Steelers fan. And so I found the Steelers logo. Don't tell them. and but it was a gift to her. I didn't have any monetary gain, but I actually brought that image into the software and was able to actually digitize. I had never embroidered anything, and I brought in a logo. The software turned it into embroidery. I saved it and I stitched it on the towel, and that was the first thing that I embroidered with my new embroidery machine. Can you believe
Wow.
that?
Wow. Well, actually, so I'm curious, when you went into the store, then did he inquire like your background to kind of get an idea what level
Nope.
you were at?
Nope.
No? So he
When
didn't
I
know.
walked in,
That
he
was
did
his
not say
standard
anything.
MO, right?
Yeah. He said
Interesting.
nothing. He just, as soon as I walked in the door, he pushed that button. I headed right over to that embroidery machine. He let me watch it for I don't even know how long before even engaging with me. And by then, Joanne, he didn't have to say anything. I was going home with that. He didn't have to say a thing. He could
That
have
is
just,
so fun.
wrote it up on a ticket and I'd have walked out the
Oh, that
door.
is so, it's like he served you a gourmet meal
He
that,
did.
like I'm not just gonna give you snacks. We're gonna do
Right.
the whole thing.
Yeah, for
Uh,
sure. Yeah. So I started with software immediately. So for me, I know no embroidery without software.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tammy says she learned to digitize with her software program and has been
Yeah.
able to digitize a photo, and she says
Oh,
it's so fun and
it is.
satisfying. And yeah,
That's
Reen says that's how they hook us for sure.
that is
Interesting.
so true.
Lori was a home ec teacher, and
Yeah.
then and Dawn said her our mutual friend Dawn. Hey Dawn, great to have you
Yeah.
here tonight.
Yeah.
Her grandmother was a
A
home ec
home ec
teacher.
teacher.
Well,
Oh, that's so cool.
I got a whole bunch of comments here I want to bring up, and then when after that, I'd love for you maybe to show us some samples of some things
Sure.
that you're really drawn to now. I mean, you've got
Yeah.
the experience of working with so many different types. And again, a shout out to
Yeah.
Roy Garland
Yes.
from Dime, and Deb Jones,
Yes.
too. I mean, you and with
Absolutely.
Eileen Roach, and then all the people you get to work with, you all probably like to do some different things, but you all get
Oh,
to see what each other does. So
absolutely.
it's funny though how we all kind of gravitate to what we like to do
Yeah,
best. So I want to see
for
some of
sure.
your samples, but we've got so many comments here. I got to bring some of
Sure.
them up. So Beth from Quilts and Lace
Hey.
gives us such a nice compliment
Aw,
here. Thank you,
that's so
Beth.
sweet.
We both think the world of you, for
Yes.
sure. And Anne says it would be so nice to have a catalog of all the videos on
With
Dime Pep.
Dime and Pep. So, yeah, and I can't think of anywhere that is written, but certainly, I think that's actually a great idea. Maybe that's something that I can put a bug in somebody's ear that we can kinda work on. Because some of the older videos, I know that a lot of people will watch some of the older videos on our YouTube channel, and, Joanne, they'll say, "Well, the software's changed, that's not the
Yeah,
same."
yep,
But
I've
the core
experienced that.
feature, yes, the core features are the same, even if the
Yeah,
icon looks a little different or if it's in a different location. And so when you're watching those videos, there's such amazing information in
I
those videos that it would be a shame to remove them,
I agree.
but to have
I've
it
done some
cataloged.
Google search from time to time when
Yeah,
YouTube search when I wanted to find a quick answer to
for
something.
sure.
And Catherine Artinez, is that how yep,
Martinez, yes.
Artinez. I mean,
She is
she
amazing
an
teacher.
amazing lady and
Mhm,
such a good teacher as well. So hey, if you find
absolutely.
those older videos, don't let that dissuade you because there's some great, great information there.
Yeah,
And then
for
Kelly
sure.
says she's got a Ruby
Yeah,
Viking, and will
mhm,
this work on her machine? And the
absolutely.
software, absolutely, yeah,
Yeah,
software is
you'll install
multi-format.
it. Right, Kelly, so it doesn't install on your machine, it installs on a computer, and then you would save from the computer software, the embroidery tool shed, the format that you need for your, Ruby, which would be VP3 most likely, I'm sure is what you're using, that or VIP, and so, yes, you can save those formats, and then you just, take that file to your machine and stitch it out, so, yeah.
Yep.
But
And
I
then
do agree with Anne on the catalog, so I'll make a mental, note of that, and then maybe that's something that we can kinda work towards is, right there under the YouTube video, wouldn't that be awesome, Joanne, just to have,
yeah,
like, a time mark, and the time mark, and then, put what they're showing, so that's actually a great, great suggestion, thank you.
definitely. And
Yeah.
our mutual friend
Yeah,
Debbie, and I believe her husband Don is probably watching too. She says,
oh,
"Hi,
I
Ashley."
love them.
So full.
Hey,
Me too. We have a very
yes.
mutual thing going on there for sure.
It's been so long.
I know. Well, maybe we can get you back here to Ohio when we can all get together again.
I
That
would
would be
love
fun.
that, love it.
Marjorie says she's having problems with Perfect
Hi.
Stitch Viewer. She can see a new
Ooh.
design purchase, but not older ones. Any
Oh,
suggestions for
so
that?
yeah, so Marjorie, I think I might know what's going on. So on, suspect that you're using a Windows computer. You can clarify that in the chat if you want. But on Windows, especially with some of the latest updates, they are really pushing their OneDrive, which is their cloud based storage. So if you have a design that you download and install on your OneDrive drive, when you first install it, it hasn't been sucked up to the cloud yet, for lack of better terms, and so then your embroidery, your software, your Perfect Stitch viewer will see it. But then once it is backed up to the cloud, even though you still see the little icon, it's not really local to your computer anymore. And so that's why Perfect Stitch Viewer can't see it. So a good way to test would be, one of your folders that has files in it that you cannot see with your Perfect Stitch viewer, just copy it and then paste it to like your desktop or your C drive documents. Those are local to your computer, and then you can just verify that you're seeing them, and then that's probably what's happening. Perfect Stitch viewer can't view cloud documents because they're not really there. I know that's kind of confusing, but there is just your little image, but the file itself is in the cloud. It saves space on your computer, so that's a positive thing for space. But then, of course, we don't necessarily see our files with our Perfect Stitch viewer.
That's a really good answer, because I wouldn't have known any of that for sure.
And I see Marjorie answered yes, Windows 11. So Marjorie, I bet that's what's happening, because they really are pushing saving, which again is not a bad thing, right, Joanne, to have a backup of all your files. I mean, we've got so many embroidery files we don't want to lose, but that does make a little bit different. So me personally, and this is just what works for me, I store my designs under the folder C Dime Designs, because then I can see them in my design library in my software. But every once in a while, I like to say I would do it once a week, but I don't always get to it. But I make a copy of that folder and I put that on my OneDrive, and then that way it gets backed up to the cloud. And I have my local version as well. So that's just me personally how I work it. So you just have to determine, what way would work best for you.
And then Teresa, hey Teresa, good to have you here tonight. She's got another suggestion there, a web page that lists the topics and gives direct links to the videos. Would be
I love
great.
it.
Yeah,
Love that.
because I mean, definitely there's so much there. And my friend June earlier asked if the videos stay up on YouTube. Let me bring up her question. And yes, June, they sure do. They're there.
They
You
are
can dig
forever.
back and
right. Once they're in
find all of
cyberspace, they're always there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know if I brought this one up. Tammy says she so loves her embroidery machines, has over, I never say only.
Wow.
Woo wee. She inherited, purchased, and gifts included with digitizing programs. Yeah,
Wow.
we definitely
That's a
have
lot.
our fair share of designs, don't we?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And yeah, thousands of ones. And it's hard to keep track of them, but we love them. We hoard them just like we do fabric, don't we?
Yep. And Marjorie follows up with that. Yes, Windows 11. So that was a great answer. But how about if we jump right in and get you to show us some of your favorite designs, your favorite projects? I know you got some cute samples to show us too. So
absolutely. And as you know, Joanne, we do this every day. I mean, we're lucky in that sense. And so I have so many things that it's really hard to pick. So I just went with what my favorite latest trend is, and that is here at Dime, we have collaborated with Caesar, and we're starting to work with HTV in our embroidery. And it looks like my camera is all locked up, and so we did a lot of restarting, so I'm just going to close it out and open it back up, and it'll come back up. The HTV, so we have worked with Caesar to start using HTV in our embroidery, and I'm absolutely loving it. It really speaks to my crafting side, because I also, when I was a new embroiderer, Joanne, I also did a lot with digital cutters. So like I worked with the first one that I had to cut, my fabric before it was really a thing, and also stickers or adhesive vinyl. So I'm loving this. And my friend Stephanie Young from Caesar, she and I really brought this concept together in our in the embroidery. So she had been doing it with the Caesar HTV, and then she and I kind of brought this together, and Dime now is teaching this method, and I am just in love with it. So this is one of my favorites. So as you are probably familiar, this is from your collection, Just Jackets, which, I mean, look, it looks great. It doesn't have to be a jacket, right, Joanne? Yes.
Absolutely. Just
I
jackets
love
and
it.
more is what I'd like to add as a sticker on
Oh,
the
that's
outside of this.
true. So true. And so that's this design, and it is applique embroidery. But instead of fabric, this is HTV in the roses, and I've even used an HTV in the leaves. And now I'm sure you're wondering, why not just use fabric? Well, for one, I don't have a fabric that's glittery like that,
That's
but
so beautiful.
even better is the ease of use. So I've stitched this little example here. So this is one of the rose designs, but this is a piece of HTV. And notice that I have stitched all the way to the satin stitch. I did not stop after the tack down because this rips away from the outside. Look at that. No trimming necessary. I mean, I could just do that all day long, but look how beautiful that
Oh,
is. But that sparkle, I can't get that from fabric. But if you love applique, but the trimming is not your favorite part, then definitely using HTV in your embroidery designs is really, really popular. But I'll show you some other things that I've done with it. So also from Joanne's collection, I made this shirt for 4th of July. And this is one of the design from that collection, and it has several matching coordinating collections. And I just added letters, and each one of these all has HTV. So this is a type of HTV that has a velvet kind of texture called Strip Flock. That's from Caesar, Strip Flock Pro. And this is the glitter, and I also put the glitter in the stars as well. So this is, even though, like I said, I don't know if I picked like, my favorite thing I've ever done, but oh my gosh, I'm just like in love with this technique of using HTV. This cute little shirt, I was just on a live with Stephanie last week, and we talked about this, but I mean, just look how cute that is. So that's 3 different colors and 3 different types of HTV. And I mean, you can like go and do like so much stuff. Look at this. Cute little design. I've already got my Halloween shirt ready to go. But this is something when you talk about, your favorite thing that you've ever done. I don't know about the favorite thing, but I tell you, sometimes I even amaze myself. And those are the things that are most memorable when I try something new and it works out. Oh my gosh, it's the ultimate. And that's kind of what happened here. This is actually a font from our Dime Word Art and Stitches. That is a puffy font. It's so hard to tell on the camera, but if I go to the side, you can see it's actually raised stitches because there's foam underneath those letters. But then in the open area, that's actually HTV behind there as well. And so HTV in the coffee and in these cute little legs and hat there. And just some other things. You can really incorporate HTV wherever you might normally use applique fabric. And it could be used just like you see here, this cute little spring design. And then I'm already ready for the holidays. This is one of my favorites here too, because I mean, you need a lot of sparkle when it's the holiday season, right? So that was a lot of fun to make. And I don't know, I just find it really fun and satisfying. So, and this is one of my favorite. Now I know Joanne is a cat person, so I think that she'll appreciate the cool cat here. But this is actually one of the first things that I did. Stephanie and I together played with some of these designs. She had some ideas. I created some things in the software, and it's so simple, Joanne. It's so cute that it really just, you look at it and go, oh, why can't every embroidery be so cute and so simple, right? And so fun. But yeah, so that's my new favorite thing. I wouldn't say, of all the things that I've done, but it definitely is my love at the moment. I love seeing what else you can do with HTV and embroidery. I've learned a ton as we've started this journey, and it also, marries my cutter. So my scan and cut is, I've used it for years for a lot of different things. And so I'm loving incorporating the HTV with the embroidery. So a lot of fun.
Well, you've sparked a few questions, so let me bring them up.
Sure.
Cindy's specifically addressing me, but you just mentioned the
Yeah.
scan and cut. So does scan and cut work with the Caesar vinyl? That's how you say it, Caesar.
Yep.
And the answer is absolutely, positively yes, and beautifully, I might
Right.
add. Absolutely
Absolutely.
beautifully. I mean, the colors
Yeah.
When I first got to working with the scan and cut, the brother scan and cut machine, the first things I cut with it was paper and
Yep.
vinyl and things like that, because it was kind of foolproof, and basically the Caesar is vinyl, so
Yes.
you're going to find it cuts it like butter.
It does. It absolutely does. But I also want to make the comment too that all of the samples that I just showed under the camera, I actually didn't have to pre-cut these because I used it with embroidery. I just used the HTV. In fact, I'll show you a little example here.
Yeah.
So HTV has a carrier sheet so that you can cut from the back side. And so when you're using it in embroidery, you want to remove that clear carrier sheet and just toss it or set it aside, because then the HTV just acts like fabric. So when you're using it with an embroidery design like an applique, you actually do not have to cut it. But the thing that we love about the Caesar HTV that we've been using, the Caesar Glitter, the Strip Lock Pro, and the Caesar Aurora, those all three can be used with embroidery, but I can also use them with or just a cut. I don't have to have it in embroidery. So it's a versatile product that can be used, with or without embroidery. So love
And
that.
that's bringing up a couple questions that I think you're probably we're going to address here. But Anne wants to know: do you iron it before stitching over it? And
No.
Karen wants to know: do you heat press after embroidery? Will it fall
Yes,
out if you do not?
that
So
is correct.
give us the ironing tips here. So
Yeah, so you both are correct. So you do not iron it down at before, you iron it down after. And that is because, just as you probably guessed, it'll rip away from the outside and it'll also rip away from the inside. So Dime actually has a special stitch type in our software, our cut and stitch software, called a vinyl applique, that will add, and I can show you on this little example here. So this is HTV in the purple of the kettle and the green, but you can see an extra run stitch
mhm.
just inset. We call that a trapping stitch because the HTV is perforated by the needle when it's forming stitches. So as you could imagine, more perforations for the satin stitch, so it rips away much easier. This trapping stitch is a little bit longer length run stitch, and it prevents this from easily ripping from the inside. But if you can ever fuse it, so if the item that you're stitching on is able to be fused or heated, like this is just a cotton canvas bag, then I would fuse that for best results and for longevity. I would
Mhm.
fuse from the back. So like this particular example here, I would turn it inside out and I would put this embroidery face down on like a wool pressing pad and then iron from the back. And that's going to bond the HTV to your item. And by putting it face down into that wool press pad, it's going to protect your embroidery stitches so they don't get crushed by your iron.
Good point. So that seals it completely. And then
Mm-hmm.
Teresa wanted to know: is it washable?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So you can launder it. Caesar recommends that you wait 24 hours after bonding it to launder it. That's just going to make sure that that bond is strong. And then also turn it inside out just to protect from other things in the wash, rubbing up against it.
Yeah, it's very, very durable. So again, Barbara's asking, how do you attach the HTV? And that is just you layer it down, it
Yep.
stitches over, and then you press it. And
Right.
with
Yep. The
a
embroidery machine attaches it.
normal household iron, Ashley?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And Caesar, another reason that I really love that we're working with them is they kind of take the guesswork out of cutting it and fusing it and caring for it. So they have all of that information on their website or either on their free app that you can download on your smartphone. But the heat, temperature, and time for any of their HTV, it varies. And so they'll tell you specifically on there. Now, I don't want to quote an exact temperature because I don't remember the exact one. I look it up nearly every time, Joanne, but it's like around about 325 and then for like 15 or 20 seconds and you press. So you hold your iron to the back and press for that 15-20 seconds to
Okay.
create that bond. And so, yes, you can use your home iron, you can use a heat press. If you don't know your home iron temperature, then, look in your user manual, or your manufacturer's website might be able to tell you that, say, the cotton setting would get you to that 325 mark. So,
And you could always do a test too, because you're going to see right away if it's,
if
take
it's
a little
bonding,
scrap piece and
right.
test it out. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you don't want to overheat it. That's why it is important to pay a temperature to the time, pay attention to the time and the temperature, because overheating, not just HTV, but, in our embroidery, we bond with fusible web sometimes. And we have other types of things that we bond our embroidery sometimes with. But depending on the type of adhesive, it can be overheated and break down those properties that actually bonds
Yes.
it. So
Yeah.
sometimes people think that things aren't sticking, so they heat longer and hotter. And believe it or not, that's not always the answer. Sometimes that can actually do the opposite of what you're trying to do.
That's a great point. And then Anne brings up a good point too. She says it's pressure that counts as well.
Yes,
She does a lot of
absolutely.
HTV. So thanks for that tip, Anne. That's
Good
that's
point.
And Susan is wondering what type of stabilizer you use and what needle do
Yeah.
you use? Great question, Susan.
So for the what you're stitching with the HTV is you're putting it in an applique embroidery design. So you're going to choose the stabilizer and the needle based on the item that you're actually stitching on. So for instance, this cat is stitched on a cotton canvas bag, so it's very sturdy. So I had a tearaway stabilizer and I used a sharp point embroidery needle for the applique. But however, on my shirt here, I'm stitching on a knit. So it
Mhm.
wasn't really about the HTV, it was about stitching on the knit. So I used a cutaway stabilizer for my knit, and I used a light ballpoint embroidery needle for the knit. So it's really about choosing the stabilizer and the needle for the substrate that you're stitching on.
Like that's perfect. Perfect answer.
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect. Yeah. Did you I might have missed it, but did you have little scissors on one of those designs you showed before?
Did I have scissors?
I don't remember.
Let's
I don't
see.
know. Somebody's asking about scissors. Don't touch my
Oh, no.
scissors. Ah,
Oh, this.
he wants to know where that design came from.
Oh, so this is actually a free design from Dime. Each week, Eileen announces a new design that we give away free. If you check out our website and just search free design, when you get to our website, our Designs and Machine Embroidery page, it'll get you to our on the house designs. That's what they're called. So the design is one of the free on the house designs, and then the text I actually added from my software. Like I said, that's
Okay.
probably the number one thing that I do. So if you touch my scissors, you'll become my secret ingredient.
That
So
is
yeah, so and I just made it a little hanging for I have the frame that it goes on so I can sit it in my entryway of my sewing studio. So yeah, isn't that cute?
that is a great mix there. And then
So free
Caroline says,
design and software.
yeah, and sometimes the simplest things make the biggest statement. So that's true. I really think that the whole thing
Yeah,
mixing all this HTV in there is
is
just
the gold.
brought up a whole new, a whole new
Yeah.
beautiful thing into the embroidery world. Connie says, do you have issues with your needle getting dull with the HTV? That's a great question, Connie.
So I would not necessarily know. And the reason I say that is because since I do this every day, Connie, I stitch a lot. And so every day when I am done working for the day, I actually will remove my needle from my embroidery machine and then just I put it in my sharp container. And tomorrow I start fresh with a new needle. Partly because you really should be choosing the needle based on project, so I never know what's left in there. I do have a little mark on there that helps me if I do need to figure it out if I didn't remove it. But I do like to start fresh every day because then I'm choosing the right needle. I know I've got a new fresh needle when I start to embroider. So I haven't reached the point to where it dulls my needle. And really, it's not much difference other than the glitter, on here. But the strip flock is very soft like fabric, so it's probably not going to cause much issue, and our needles are probably the least expensive part of our entire embroidery process. Don't you think, Joanne?
That is absolutely, absolutely so true. So Cindy's asking, what days does Eileen go live? And then why don't you tell us again what days you go live?
So I go live on the first and the third Tuesday of every month. So tomorrow, you guys can catch me over there. I am talking about Perfect Embroidery Pro, but even though I'm talking about Perfect Embroidery Pro, some of the features of our software does overlap with others. So like the text feature that's in several of our programs. So you'll still learn a ton, even if you're viewing and you don't own that specific software. And then Thursday, every Thursday, Eileen goes live, and she and I both will be on there this week talking about similar HTV and embroidery, and also incorporating some other fun, sparkly stuff. So on Thursday, that's Eileen's show, but I will be her guest on Thursday.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
That's it's
A
there's
lot of
always
lives this week, Joanne. A lot of face on the internet this week.
I'm telling you, last week was crazy for me. So I was like, always something, always something. But you know
Right.
what? It's always a joy because spending time with all our friends like this is really it's like inviting everybody over for a big party.
Absolutely. Yes,
So
and I tell you, I sometimes think I cannot believe that I get to do this for work. Like, it's still, amazes me that I get to do this for work, and I don't have to go have a regular IT job and then only do my hobby, a few hours a week. So I think,
I know.
we're very lucky that we get to do this
Very
regularly.
much so. And
Yeah.
and speaking of that, I want to say, while I'm thinking about it, thank you to everyone who's here live. I know, you've got something else gets set aside in order for you to
Yeah,
be here on the
absolutely.
live. So we very much appreciate you being here. And it is
Yeah,
so much fun in the live chat. And it is a great way to get your thoughts out and share with other people and ask questions that, you may not have any other time to ask. So it is great to be here live. But I appreciate very much everybody being here on the replay as well. So if you're watching the replay, we love you. We're glad you're here. And if you like the
absolutely.
show, please be sure to hit that like button. I've said it before, I'll say it again. When you hit the like button and give it a thumbs up, not only does it help us, when we're actually doing the show, but it helps anybody else out there that may be looking for something similar because it
Yeah,
tells YouTube, hey, this person liked this, you might like it too. So you're actually sharing with other sewing friends that you may never meet. And then
realize, right.
hitting that bell for notifications is very important because then you're going to know anytime and every time that something is going on here. So
Yeah.
appreciate all of that. Absolutely. So let's see if I sneak in any more questions from others. I don't see any burning questions right now. So I've got a couple for you, Ashley.
Sure.
Back to the whole idea of somebody being new to embroidery software. What in
Yeah.
your mind are like the three maybe most popular things or things that you may want to learn to do first and foremost if software is new to you?
So I definitely think that the basics, I'll group those into one. I'm going to cheat here a little bit and say more than three. But, these are things that we've already mentioned. So the things that you do to your designs most, like resizing, sometimes we like to rotate it a different angle or maybe change the thread colors. And I think that in software, it's nice to be able to change the thread colors because I'm a visual person. So I like to see if the colors that I'm choosing are going to go well. So those basic editing features I would kind of group together. And then the other thing I would say is if you watch your design stitch out on the screen, so the stitch simulator, which we call slow redraw, boy, I mean, you can learn a lot, not just about your design, but if you have any desire to make your design stitch out better, or to learn to create your own designs, or maybe just edit the designs that you got for free, or from another designer, by watching that stitch out on the screen, for one, you're not stitching on fabric, you're not wasting thread, you're not wasting stabilizer. So you can learn a lot about that design before you ever even get to the embroidery machine. And you can also learn a lot about designs in general. So if you have a favorite designer that you think their designs always stitch out really well, by watching that stitch out, you can learn a lot about the types of underlay that they use, the thickness of their stitches, things like that, the angle of their fill stitches. So I really love the slow redraw, because just by watching it, it's like watching TV. You can learn a lot about your embroidery. And so I would definitely say that that's one of my favorite. And again, that's kind of what started me. I didn't have the ability to see the design on the screen of my first um, machine. So watching it stitch out in the software was crucial. I could tell where, applique tack downs and placement stitches were, and, just a variety of things. So I definitely would say that. And then I would say text. I think that we all love to add text. And the text to me is the easiest thing. You just type in and add that to the screen. So then you're going to learn to manipulate it a little bit. Maybe you want it spaced out a little more. Maybe you want text one line above and one line below your design, or maybe you want it arced over your design. So using those features can really get you more comfortable with your software, because you have to work your mouse, you have to select the text, and move it around. Sometimes we rotate it, and so it really can open up the door for just making you really comfortable. And then once you get more comfortable, then you might advance into picking apart your design, or merging two designs together, removing the parts that are underneath so that it's not really dense. You may advance into adjusting the density. If you like a certain density of your satin stitch, but your favorite designer seems to prefer a different density, you can change those things. So, but I definitely would start with your basics. It'll get you familiar with the software. Rotate, change colors, resize, things like that. Watch that slow redraw, learn about the way your design
Yeah.
stitches, the favorite designer. You can tell a lot about a design from watching it stitch out, and then add some text. So I think that's an easy way to
Okay.
personalize, because you
Yeah.
really don't even need another design. We just talked about it, Joanne. Like, a text can be just a monogram. So
Absolutely.
it's a
Yeah.
design in itself.
I know for me, what I've always liked about software is that once I've got everything arranged and you're using the bigger screen of your computer, so everything
Yeah.
is, the layout's bigger. Once you've saved that design, you take it to the machine, however you send it, you're good to go and ready to sew. So
Right.
it's you're hooped up
Yeah.
and you're not having to do too much there. Although it all depends too on what your editing capability is on your own machine. So
Right.
software
Absolutely.
can be a great equalizer. If you purchase some software that's going to do some really specific things for you, then you don't necessarily need to have that added to your
Right.
machine. So
For sure. And
there's a
our software will grow with you, because once you purchase any piece of Dime software, you don't have to ever repurchase it. If we add a new feature, or if we add updates, then you get those automatically with your original purchase. You don't have to repurchase. And the nice thing about us adding updates and new features is that when new machines come out that have new hoop sizes, we add those to our software. When they have new machine formats, we add those to the software. And so your software from Dime is going to grow with you. If you use a different brand of machine today than you used to, you might need to convert a format to your new machine brand. And you can do that, with your software as well. So yeah, it's going to grow with you, but the machine, that's going to be the one that you spend your money on and replace, because you're going to want new. Also, parts wear out, moving parts, software doesn't wear out. So yeah, and you can spend your money on your machine because you don't have to keep repurchasing software.
Yeah, all good thoughts. Now, Cindy
Yeah.
brought up some. She says, "I wish Dime would do more
Hi,
free
Cindy.
lessons for beginners." So, Cindy, I would say, really, with what Ashley has been doing with the software lessons,
Yeah.
they're I would say a lot of those are for beginners. So maybe go back and start from the
Start from
beginning
them.
of
Yeah, for
those.
sure. And Cindy, and Cindy personally, I know that Cindy's reached out to me, and I tell this to every single person that I talk to, whether it is to a group like this or an individual. You guys know where to find me. I am more than happy to answer specific questions. But I do think sometimes, Joanne, I know that you might see this too, but sometimes people are afraid to ask in a group setting because they think that it's, a
A
dumb
silly
question, which,
question. Yep, yep,
right.
yep.
But I tell you that
If
I
you're
I
thinking
don't
it
ever think
if
that
you're thinking
somebody
it,
else is.
10 other people out there at least are
Right,
thinking
absolutely.
the
But I
same
will
thing.
tell you
Yeah.
too, and Cindy has reached out to me, and I know that it can be intimidating, especially when you see people answering questions a lot, so that you think that you don't know as much as they do. But you can message me privately if you feel like you don't want to ask the question out loud. I think Cindy can definitely attest because I know I've answered her question directly. I am happy to help you. And honestly, sometimes you may ask a question that I learn from
Exactly.
too.
And
So
yep, and
we
anytime,
figure it
like
out
I said,
together.
if one person's asking it, I love hearing any question whatsoever,
Absolutely.
because then if I can bring that up the next time, then I can answer it before
Yes.
somebody even has to ask it.
Yes, absolutely. That is so true. But yeah, I definitely agree. And Cindy, I'll definitely keep that in mind. I think that sometimes we think, Joanne, because we do this every day, we think that everybody has advanced as we have advanced. But I do think that we need to remember that there are still people that are starting or starting over sometimes.
Yeah.
They've got out of it and come back. And so I'll definitely keep that in mind too, Cindy, as we go forth and maybe some things specific for beginners. So yeah,
I do love questions, and obviously you
me
do
too.
too, because we've asked
I
you an
do.
awful lot of them tonight, and you've answered. And
I
then another
absolutely
friend
do.
named Cindy says she likes, the printouts, so I think she's talking
Yeah.
templates. I agree,
Yes.
absolutely. Retha, our
So
friend Retha, hey, Retha, we got to meet in, Houston last year, so
did
that was
you?
great, yeah.
Oh,
Retha
that's so
loves
cool.
dime King Star metallic threads too, yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
Tammy is really happy that the Dime software will, update
Yep.
and grow. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
been a great thing
for
to
sure.
have to know and be and have confidence in that. And
Yeah.
then Anne brings up a good point. Dime has thread colors from different companies that you
We
can
do.
print out. So yeah, that
Yeah.
helps a lot. It's just
Yeah. It's a
really
conversion.
very full featured. So I hope tonight
Yeah.
that we've, if you've already been dabbling a little bit in the software, I mean, because that is Ashley's expertise. Although you got to get some good ideas on using the HTV tonight too,
Right.
for
Right.
sure. But that is Ashley's expertise. If you've dabbled a little bit, hopefully you've got some new and interesting extra tips. And if you're new to software, I hope that we've helped you kind of ease into it a little bit and feel that you could get started and get going and
Yeah.
find the value in it.
For
So
sure. For
you've
sure.
given us so much good
Yeah.
information. But
Yeah.
before I let you go, because we're about ready to wrap up here, I have to know, number one, can you name any real like bloopers that you've had?
Joanne, almost every day is a blooper of some sort. When you stitch a lot, and I know that you can relate to this, and actually, and I say that like, I don't think that I ever would have had time to stitch so much if I still had an IT job. Whereas I know a lot of our, fans, followers, and viewers, they probably stitch even more than I do because I do have to do some admin kind of work sometimes in between it. But I do feel like that stitching, of course, the more you stitch, the more chances are that things will happen. But yeah, sometimes I just think that the whole day is a blooper. I can't think of one particular one other than, some crazy mishaps. But I will tell you that anytime that I do have some sort of mishap, I am a very humorous. I love to laugh. I love to smile. I think it makes our heart light and happy. And so anytime I make a mistake, the first thing I think, Joanne, is how can I turn this into something funny? Um,
Okay.
so I'm always thinking, okay, can I spin this and it be something comical that, it turns into a positive. So, but I can't think of a particular, one particular blooper.
Yeah,
But
I think because a lot of times we just move on from there, right?
yes,
So I
absolutely. When you're
I
in a
gotta give
hurry, for sure.
a shout out to WG because she's from
Yay,
Australia too. So
nice.
we got
Lots
lots
of
of
Australians.
Australian friends here with us tonight. That's
Yeah,
great.
that is.
Oh, okay. Well, another big burning question, though, we always like to talk about on this show. Um, what maybe would be your thoughts or ideas on how to make your sewing space a happier
Ah.
place?
So to me, it is organization in a manner that makes the process efficient. So one of my things that I do is I have all my thread on the wall. I know that a lot of people like to store their thread in containers, but for me, it's really easy to see all the colors, grab what I need, and then also it keeps me putting those back in place because if it takes a lot of work to put it away, I don't I don't generally do it as often as I should. So having necessary tools. So I try to group tools with my different machines. So the tools that I would use for my scan and cut, I would put those all together near my scan and cut, and the same thing with my machines. And then the other thing I would say to me is just, yeah, just kind of being efficient and just having everything at your fingertips. I don't really think I have a really good like organization. I do love everything on wheels. If I have like a cart that has my, most used tools on wheels so that I could move it between, say, using my scan and cut and my machine, that does make it easier. But I also like all my furniture on wheels because I'm always like moving around and repositioning to get the best kind of setup for my space. So,
Very good. Good
yeah.
tips and tricks for sure. That is really I wouldn't have thought about having everything on wheels,
Oh
but
my
that
gosh,
makes
everything.
perfect sense.
There's only one table that's not on wheels in my room. And I mean everything, shelves, racks, carts, and the table that my machines are on. It just makes it really easy. If you need more space, I mean you can push everything against the wall with no help from anyone. My cutting
Yeah,
table is wheeled so I can move it close to where I'm working, or it can get out of the way and go in a corner. So wheels, maybe that's my tip. Wheels for
very
everything.
good. Yeah, very good. Well, I got to sneak Mary's question. Is she
Sure.
how does she find Dime on YouTube? What's the search name?
If you
And
search designs and machine embroidery, it should come up. You can also search DZGNS. That's short for designs. But if you just search designs and machine embroidery, then that should make it come
yeah,
up.
you should find it. Should not have a problem finding it that way.
And if you
All
find
right.
our website, Designs and Machine Embroidery, there is a little icon that links to our YouTube channel and our Facebook group on the main page. I think it's maybe either at the top corner or the bottom, but you'll see the little YouTube play button, and then you can click that, and it'll take you there as well.
Perfect. So last but not least, what project are you most excited about right now? Or maybe give us a little hint what you're working
Hmm.
on or what you got cooking in the embroidery
Right.
world right now.
Yeah, so right now, so we are I would say the my most exciting thing other than everything I've done HTV. Boy, I've loved using the HTV with the Halloween designs. So that has been fun, but I'm moving on to we have a holiday event that we'll be teaching that is freestanding lace, and it's holiday decorating, but also gift wrap. So we have freestanding lace, 3-dimensional bows or a gift card holder, but also decorating your table with freestanding lace, like your napkin rings or maybe some little cone trees, also ornaments. So I've been working on some of those new samples and I just love it. So freestanding lace to me, I never thought I would enjoy it as much, but you really can do so much with a freestanding embroidery design. And you don't even have to think of it as lace really, because some of it doesn't necessarily look like lace, but it's
Yeah.
just freestanding embroidery. And
Yeah.
if you could imagine what you could do with freestanding embroidery, I mean, it's limitless.
And so much fun to
Yeah.
stitch, especially when you're threading it up with one color, pushing the
Yes.
go button.
And going to sleep. So,
And
Joanne, I run my 10 needle
yeah.
with my freestanding lace designs. I start it right before I go to bed, and then when I wake up in the morning, one of two things, it'll be done or the bobbin will be empty. So,
But at least you got somewhere without
that's
being
right.
there.
That's right.
Yep, yep, and FSL is short for
Yes,
freestanding lace.
freestanding
It could
lace.
mean a freestanding object, but freestanding
Yep.
lace sounds prettier.
Yep. Absolutely.
Oh my. I agree, Cindy. Dime has wonderful wash away and it works
Do.
really well for creating those freestanding lace. So
Yeah.
maybe another time we could do just a whole show on something related to freestanding lace.
Ooh,
That would be a lot of fun. I do this show.
absolutely.
This is the So Tell Me live show where I interview somebody from the sewing world. Usually the fourth Monday of every month at 7 p.m. Eastern time. This month, there's a holiday coming next week, so I wanted to do it one week earlier. And then, generally speaking, in the middle of the month on a Friday or a Friday or a Saturday afternoon, I do a tea and tutorial show where I sip some
Oh,
tea, tell you what I'm sipping in my
what you were
teacup,
doing.
and do some type of a tutorial. So maybe you can come back and do one of those.
That sounds like
Got
fun.
lots of SFL friends and lots
Yeah.
of friends of Dime and friends of Ashley Jones.
Yeah.
And I count
Thank you.
myself in amongst them and just am so glad that you took the time to be with us tonight. So
Absolutely.
I hope we could do it again really soon. And until then, I would say goodbye, Ashley. We'll see you again soon. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And until we meet again, I wish you all a world full of pretty stitches. Happy sewing. Bye bye.